Hi, it's Harley. Thank you for watching TransByDef. I'm actually going to be making up a topic that I didn't do, and so I'll try to make up the makeup tips too as well. But the one topic I really wanted to go back and do is transitioning on the job, because recently I did that. I'm almost 1 year into it actually, which is cool. So I'm going to do that, but first I'm going to do a cadence. Do you like this? This is really fucking amazing. Like, fuck yeah, I love like bringing this to work and shit. But anyways, so transitioning on the job. If you ever seen like some of my past videos, you would know that didn't really know what I was going to do. If I was so I was so undetermined of what I was going to do with, if I was going to go look for another job or transition on the job. It was a lot of things. Mainly, the reason why I wasn't really going to transition on the job because I was scared. I was scared what was going to happen, and that's kind of really the ultimate possibility of getting like fired or something, even though it's not right, but things like that. So it was very scary. I was afraid I wasn't going to be like welcomed, and things like that. So my first step was to look for a new job and apply for other jobs and see what I can do and start fresh, start as Harley at a new job. And that was really my first intentions. I thought it was easier, but in fact it really was more difficult than it was because first of all, I didn't change my name yet. So, and the thing was, if I changed my name, then my company that I'm with would know. So it was like I was battling this, oh my God, what do I do? And what ended up happening was I was filling out applications with my male name, but my resume had my male or like the first initial and then Harley, and my last name. And it was just so freaking confusing. Like, I mean, it really was. And I remember going to an interview one time, and I go and say, hey, my name is Harleen. I'm here for an interview today. And they were like, okay, what's your last name? And I'm like telling them my last name, and they're like, oh, they got the wrong first name down. They have James. And I was like, oh God. And I just sat down, and there was like this huge commotion with like, what's going on? Who's coming in? Who's not? And it was just like, oh my God. I was just so embarrassed. And eventually, as the interview went through, I was like, this is not the job for me anyways. So it was very difficult, very, it's embarrassing sometimes, and it was a lot more difficult than I thought it was. So a person told me the best advice was to stick it out with your job if you like it and feel it. Just let them kind of push it, and eventually they kind of do, in a sense. I mean, you kind of realize it. Because, like, the whole company thought I was, like, came out as gay because my appearances were looking feminine instead of masculine and things were not, something was suspicious. So, so that was true. I mean, to a point, to an extent. So eventually, I was kind of sticking it. I still was looking for other jobs, and I found this one job, and I was like, they were asking like for, if you knew anyone. So I was like, let me just ask, some of the coworkers I've been working with, just in case they, are sick of it. And so I asked them, I said, but the only condition is you'll be working with a transgender. And they were like, okay, that's fine. And I said, okay, cool, because that transgender's me. And then they're like, well, then I'm fine with it. And I was like, really? I'm like, holy shit, And it was probably the best decision I did was telling them that, because as I came out to most of the people I work with, they were all accepting, and I was like, one of my coworkers is like, why don't you just come out here and just, since you told us, I mean, we're the ones that you work with, just transition here. And I was like, you're absolutely right. So the next day I went to my manager and I came out to her and I told her, off the record, can you just tell me where the policies are so I can actually see what's going on with the transition, and so she showed me this company. She said that this third party company does these things for us where it's like life management, like situations like depression, adoption, all these little things that the company, it's like personal things, and they had transgenders in there, and I was like, oh, cool. So I'm looking at the policies, but I noticed all the policies are templates, so I went back and I was like, okay, so what's the, are these real? And then she's like, well, we have to go on the record if you want me to call the HR department. I was like, okay, go for it. So she, called it and, started getting information. That's usually the first thing you really need to do is find out the policies of your company. See if they are, at least acknowledge the fact of transgenders, because that will help a lot if they acknowledge that. If they don't, I don't know what to tell you. Things might go sour. But at least my company was acknowledging that, and I was like, oh, super, this is awesome. So what we ended up doing was we set a date. They were like, okay, when do you want to start your new persona? And I was like, I want to start next year on January, and when we come back from the vacation. And they were like, okay. And then they started making out this plan, and I said, okay, I'm going to change my name on November. And that's when things started escalating. And really that's where it was. We were just planning it out, and it was super, like, I've seen it was very professional, and I've seen some companies I've heard some companies like Walmart or something, that all they do is like, you tell them, they're like, okay, and that's it. And you're like, so what does that mean? Okay. It's like, damn it, I hate that. It's like, so, but this was different. I did not expect it all. And they did a lot of things for me. The one thing that I was having kind of an issue at first was the bathroom policy, because one of the check things was to make sure that there was a unisex bathroom in my facility. And I was like, so I have to use the unisex bathroom? And that was kind of like the vague answer was like, yeah. But it was just like, I was just like, man, really? I felt like I was just being like pointed out to use that. The reason why I'm using that is because you're transgender. It felt so weird and awkward, and I was just like, this is not right. And so I decided to look up state laws, things like that, for rights and stuff. I'm wondering if, my gender is protected, gender identity. So Florida sucks, by the way. Florida civil rights, they don't even improve it. They didn't even improve it this year, which was horrible. It was just stupid. And it doesn't protect gender identity, so it's like, you're screwed. And so then it's like, but then I was thinking, well, I think there was a federal court case that's concluded that sex and gender identity are considered the same. So it was like for discrimination, but I think that was a court case. So I was like, that's not going to help me at all, because that's in some other state. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do here. So I'm doing more research, and then I found out that individual counties have some regulations also. So like ordinances, which is kind of adding on to what the Florida Civil Rights has. So there was one for the county that the building was in, the building resided in, and eventually was protected, gender identity protection for public accommodations. And I was like, sweet, that's it. So I was like, I went back and I was like, here, I'm using the female's bathroom. I'm like, and it was just, and they were like, okay with it. They were saying, no, we weren't forcing you. I was like, I don't know what it sounded like, but it definitely sounded kind of interesting. So it was vague. So anyways, that was the only issue. After that, people were so okay with it. Eventually people were just backing away a little bit, kind of weird, not afraid to offend me. they're afraid to say things and that they might offend me, that they might get reported to HR. And it's like, I told them, listen, don't worry about it. I said, listen, I'm not going to be a hard ass. If you misgender me, I'm just going to remind you, because I understand, you're getting used to it, but if you're doing it on purpose, I'm going to be able to tell, So they were like, oh, okay, okay. And I said, listen, I'm cool with it. It's all okay, and, so everyone was like nervous at first, but eventually I guess they realized how okay and, you know, all right with it. I wasn't like a hard ass about it. I was just minding my own business, working, and to be honest with you, I know this is dragging out, but I'm telling you, this was the best thing ever because being part time, you're juggling two personas, and it was like, it was just so difficult to concentrate. And even before I transitioned, it was difficult to concentrate. Now it's like, I'm super focused with my work. I am super focused with like my music now. I'm like, I got this past me, and it's like super. So, in case you're thinking about transitioning on a job, or take precautions, but push for it because I'm telling you, it's like the best thing ever. It's such a relief, and just being able to you know be yourself and not be what you think people want you to be. It's awesome. I mean, it's definitely a lot more ease and less stressful. So, anyways, I think I'm gonna stop there. I hope you enjoy. So, bye.